I facilitate the live, then I
You
could,
ain't facilitating live on our podcast.
All right, well, that's what I was asking before. Go ahead.
Yeah. If we're gonna do something, we're gonna do something. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Window Seat Podcast. We have been out of commission for a while, man. Life happens, but we're back. Blind from the truth here. I have crap. Man, it's been so long, I forgot, man. What do you call yourself?
I think I'll still go by LP. Maybe I'll change it to Miss Diva. I don't know. So for now, I'll be LP.
Man, it
Oh
happened.
wait, I can't be LP. That's not my name anymore.
Crap. Well,
Well, you know what? We'll go with it. We'll go with it.
we're gonna figure it out, man. So until then, it's the Window Seat Podcast, but it's just me and someone else that's pretending to be my co-host.
That
And we
sounds
have this wonderful young man. Man, I've known this guy since I was in diapers, and by diapers I mean high school, right?
Ugh, adult
Um,
diapers almost.
I mean almost, but I'm a small guy, so
Mhm.
they're like just big kid diapers, like a
Sure.
fat kid's diapers, you know.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Well,
big hefty guy.
I think the only real difference is the amount of absorption. Uh, I think they expect you to, at least get to there, be in the direction of a bathroom halfway through with the adult diapers. Anyway,
Right. So yeah, known this guy since diapers, in high
mhm.
school or whatever. You know, a very smart guy, man. I can't say enough about him. I can say too much about him, or I can say very little about him. To be perfectly honest, you got what would you like to be called, sir? You Ricky, you DJ Nature Boy, Homie Flair, big co-op. Oh no, that's Corey. My bad. I'm taking another folks' name. That's cool.
You are in fact taking other folks' name, but good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to be here. You guys can call me Ricky Wright, aka DJ Nature Boy Ric Flair, DJ Slick Rick, aka LT Casball, aka the Real Rim Daikun Ace Pilot. So thank you guys for having me, and let's get down to the topic, Steve. The
Bet,
United Nations. Okay.
bet. First of all, it's the podcast, so my name's not Steve on the podcast.
Oh shit. Well, let's do that whole thing over. And is this a
All
cursing part? Is this a cursing podcast? Hold on. Just start the whole thing over, but go ahead.
Oh my God. Okay.
right. Hi
For real.
everybody. Hi everybody. You know, just whenever y'all ready, I'll go.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. What up, Kim folk? We don't see podcast here. Back from a long hiatus. Back from a long holiday. Back from a long vacation. Um, Blind from the truth. That's me. LP. She's gonna change her name because she's not sure what she's doing with that at the moment.
That is true.
And we have Ricky Wright, aka
Ricky Wright, aka DJ Nature Boy Fair, aka Robespierre Danton and Marat, the last of the house of Bonaparte, here rocking the streets from Jacktown to Specktown. What's going on, guys?
what's up, man? There was a longer intro of Ricky, but we said some things and it got kind of weird, and I just decided not to use it. Anyway, so
Well, I tell you, when you take people out of their homeland, that is what's gonna happen. Okay. Anyway.
that's true. Hey, man, I was telling LP about your thoughts on Jews, but we're not gonna get into that
Whoa.
specifically. But I'm pretty sure we can maneuver our way to that after we talk about what we came here to talk about.
It's a bit top
But
heavy.
I mean, does anybody have anything to say about since we've been gone or what's been going on in their lives? Some good anecdotes, some terrible news, some happy news, no news at all, awkward silence. I mean, it's up to you.
I'm gonna take the awkward silence.
Okay, bet. Let's do 3 seconds of awkward silence for LP. All right. How about you, Ricky?
Well, in the custom and traditions of not being a snitch, I will also take the Fifth Amendment on this particular matter.
All right. Okay. All right. And I'm not gonna tell y'all nothing, man, because I don't need y'all in my business. I tell y'all enough already. Cool. So Ricky and I were talking about Bruno Mars, bro. And how he, the way Ricky words it, and I would have to agree, how he is profiting. He has a whole career currently of other people's intellectual properties. Not saying that that's a bad thing, but it's pretty blatant and pretty obvious, right? And it's kind of, man, it's almost, it might be borderline tacky with lacking like, I'm not gonna say it's not original because it does, well, no, it doesn't have an original feel to it at all. It feels good, but it's not like in that parody type of way. It's in that I'm gonna take all these elements and make it really dope. I don't know.
Well, if I could jump in,
Mhm.
blind.
Mhm.
I actually have a different opinion on that than you.
Mhm.
I think the collaboration between Bruno Mars and Mark Ronson has created some excellent music, and I think that they do take those blatant ripoffs of late '80s, early '90s music, and not music. What am I talking about? But I think they do it very gracefully. They do it very tactfully. You know what I'm saying? It's true to the source material, which is a big thing for me. It's very aesthetically pleasing with the addition of modern recording technology and all that kind of stuff. So I do, in fact, think they do a great job.
Hey
And
man,
like we
keep
were
talking.
talking
I'll
about,
be right back. Keep talking.
okay, like we were talking about earlier, they're not attempting to do anything wrong. Mark Ronson always comes out with his wallet out, ready to pay everybody. You don't have to come look for him. Morris Day's getting a check. Trinidad James is getting a check. I think even the Isley brothers got some big checks off of those first two hits. So I can't say anything bad about them. They're doing their due diligence. They're paying to clear their samples and all that kind of stuff, the intellectual property. So they're making hits. But I think most importantly, with this most recent song of theirs, I believe it's called "Finesse." I think that this may have single-handedly skyrocketed Cardi B into the stratosphere of the entertainment. Have you heard this yet, Denise?
I have not. So I don't have a reference point for I guess the new single with Cardi B.
Right. Well, it it it's interchangeable to the first two. It's kind of a, I guess, Blonde said earlier, a new Jack Swing style music. Think of a New Edition or a Belle Biv DeVoe type song. Duh, that's what we're gonna get out of them. But I think Cardi B fits that puzzle very perfectly. Like I was saying earlier, I can't remember her name, but she's from White Man Can't Jump. Come on, Billy! No, Billy is my money, Billy. I want to go on Jeopardy, Billy. Whoever that lady is, I think Cardi B plays that character very well. Afro Latina, a big breasted Afro Latina, you know.
Um, well,
Sorry. That was my boss calling me. Um, she possesses I think she just slipped right in place there. So is Blind back?
Yeah, I'm back.
So I'm gonna slide that right over to you. That's my response.
I mean, I didn't hear all of that or any of that. Quick side note, ALP, man, you remember when I said, having people over here and stuff, and you know, one of the main reasons why I felt uncomfortable by having certain people over here, um, it was for Christmas. If you can think back into the recesses of your mind without me giving out too much information.
Insert
yes.
Christmas music.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna say I have a problem. What I'm saying is, man, I don't like the way this looks.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's quite terrible.
yeah, like I almost like decided to. I thought about like, man, forget this podcast, like it's gonna screw up the rest of my night. But I'm gonna chill out. So, you say Cardi B fits that Latina, Afro Latina ain't she like part Trinidadian something else too? Like she got a lot of mixtures in her blood, right?
Right. Her ancestry is skewed uh amongst all the stops of the transatlantic slave trade.
Right.
But going back to what you were just saying, that little insider baseball. Am I familiar with that? What you're talking about, Blonde?
No, you're not.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah. Oh, crap. Okay.
I think she did it. What's up, man?
Anyway. No. Anyway, so yeah, so catch me up on what y'all was talking about real quick. You said you had a different opinion. You think she fit in there. You think it's fine what Bruno Mars is doing.
I think they're true to the source material. I think they're doing an excellent job. They're not hiding. They're facing those lawsuits straight on. They got their wallet out. They're ready to pay for these samples to be cleared and this intellectual property to be rectified.
But at that point, aren't you doing the most?
Well, I mean, you got to pay to play. There's value in that type of music, and even though it's maybe we could get into this later. But I think it's important for our viewers or our listeners, I guess, to understand copyright law was originally designed for. Like what patents and copyrights were originally designed for. And it's a little contrary to what's going on in today's. But I think Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars have every right to reimagine that New Jack Swing type music to a modern application. I think they have every right to do that.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know, man. It just really bothered me, man. Like, it didn't bother me in a bad way. I'm like, bro, like, this is In Living. Before I even saw the dedicated to Living Color, like, bro, this is In Living Color all day long.
Sure.
Like I didn't know you could do that. But apparently you can.
You definitely can do that. The homage, that spans all. Like, for instance, Rebecca Sugar, the creator of Steven Universe, a popular cartoon now, makes a lot of references to Sailor Moon and The Simpsons within her cartoon, or whatever. Not to steal from it, but rather to give an homage. Alternatively, her boyfriend, Ian Quarterly Jones, who is the creator of another Cartoon Network show, had a whole show dedicated to the Planeteers from Captain Planet. So, like I said, it's not stealing, kind of paying homage to the forefathers, I guess. And I think they're doing the same thing.
Forefathers, five fathers, 4 head, 5 head.
Exactly my point.
Fee, 5, 4, fum. But I mean, at what point do you stop? Because you got to keep paying people out, bro.
Well, I think they're just kind of waiting out the storm. My theory is that we know that culture in whole is cyclical, right? And trends of 20 years ago will always reemerge, reimagine. And the idea is for them to, have already bypassed, intellectual property laws and all that kind of stuff, so they can be reimagined, right? So what I think is for being on the cutting edge, and they kind of got in and they put their bets in right before it peaked, because it is going to peak. First it was the 70s and the 90s, then it was the 80s and the 2000s, and now it's the 90s and the 10s, I guess you could call them. 2020, yeah, it comes back around, baby. I think I was supposed to put that version back, but yeah, it's about to be the 80s again. Well, I'm sorry, it's about to be the 90s again, because in the early aughts it was the 80s, and now it's going to be the 90s.
And that's when you say that this boom bap will come back.
Well, I mean, that's technically boom bap. It's just upbeat boom bap. It's popular boom bap music.
I mean,
so let me put my uneducated, my musically uneducated, whatever opinion in this, because I'm not trying to be, what's her name, Angela Yee?
Woo! Man, we still
yeah,
firing shots at Angela Yee.
I hate
3 years later, okay?
I hate Angela Lee. Come on, don't be Angela Lee. Yee. What nationality is Angela Lee?
She is West Indian and something else. I think West Indian and black or West Indian and something.
She looks like she was born in the bathroom of United Nations.
Oh wow.
What?
Oh my.
Go ahead, VPM.
This is just bad.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, I pretty much agree with Ricky, and we were kind of talking about this before.
You guys call me Nature Boy from now on.
Okay, Nature Boy. I gotta write this shit down.
Call you Captain Planet. How about that?
Ooh, I would kind of like that actually. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, I think it's important that we give the listeners like some reference, to what exactly we're talking about, because honestly, when this topic was brought to me, I was completely like, I didn't get it. Like, I feel like most music is just, I guess, a transformation of old music in some way, shape, or form. Old lyrics, like nothing is new under the sun. So when I hear about this happening, I mean, I do think that he needs to pay people if he's using their music or whatever, but I don't see a problem with it. Like, I feel like that's how we grow creatively. We just continue to remix stuff.
Right. And to be fair, if they would have waited another year and a half, it would have been probably free to do all this stuff. But the problem with that is, the market would have been so saturated by that time. So I think they paid the price for being the first, and they're getting that paper for it. This has been a great 3-4 year run for those guys.
Hey man, I ain't gonna lie, man. I got some stuff in the works that's gonna be doing the same thing he's doing. So I ain't gonna even lie.
Oh, wait a
And
minute.
were you influenced by anyone?
Yeah, and I'm freaking blatant about it too, just as bad as he is.
Mm.
So I guess I'm just trying to clear my plate. So when all of it comes to the forefront, like, hey man, I'm good.
Well, I hope you got that wallet out like Mark Ronson.
Hey man, I got $5. They can split that.
Oh my.
Yikes. Yeah, they might take everything.
Take everything. I mean, so they're gonna take $5 and the wallet too, huh?
Well, they can't take your wallet, but what they can do is they can watch the song get real popular and then take all that music. So,
man,
at that point, I would just just destroy it so nobody can enjoy it.
Or maybe I can go in there guns blazing and die like Scarface.
Oh yeah. Die like Scarface. What did John Mulaney said? Snorting a comical pile of cocaine.
Yeah.
He says Scarface's house looks like if the Golden Girls won the lottery. Because of the tacky mansion or whatever.
Yeah. I just moved away from the microphone. That is kind of funny though. Man, the Golden Girls is a good show, man.
Very good show. VPM, what did you think about the Golden Girls?
Okay, so when I first started looking this up like 2 hours ago, everything that I brought up with Bruno Mars and this whole using other people's music and stealing or whatever, most of it went back to Uptown Funk. And I guess my question for the two of you, so when does Bruno stop paying people? Because right now, I don't know if the lawsuit is still pending or, what's going on between him and the Sequence with Angie Stone. And there's another guy, Charlie somebody, and there's another guy that says that he ripped him off and this, that, and the third. And these are people that are not being paid. They have not been paid. So at what point is it, you took this guitar riff, from my song, so you need to pay me. And you took this line, this lyric from my song, so you pay me. How far does it go back? Like, when is it okay?
So that goes with kind of what I was saying as far as like a song or two is cool, but like he made a whole thing out of it.
Hmm. Right.
So that's kind of where it becomes cloudy. Not saying I got a problem with it, but when you make a whole thing, like all your singles, all like your whole your whole image at this point is a collage of other people's ideas, which is not a bad thing, but it's a collage of other people's ideas. Where does Bruno Mars start and the other people end? And of course, you know your question too about when do you stop paying people. So yeah, go ahead, young Captain Planet.
Well, thank you, by the way, Blind, for using my formal name. What I think, um, okay, like I said before, I think what he's doing is waiting it out because after maybe a year or two more, these arguments are going to be obsolete. You know what I'm saying? Or in the case of financial compensation, I think it'll be greatly diminished. Now it says, I guess in particular, the one with the U.S. District Court of New York versus um, Mark Ronson in the matter of Zap bands. What's it called? The more bounce to the ounce, or whatever, right? A scary thing. Who gives one person the right to let's say define a genre? For instance, how slap bass with a upward walking basso continuo could be defined as disco music, right? So whoever did that first, does he need to be compensated? Another example, um, pre hip hop, when we're thinking of the famous the prayer break, drum, the drum break or whatever from what's the name of the song? Anyway, it's the
Yeah, they did that on the that was young done in many commercials and stuff. Yeah, I know what drum break you're talking about.
right. I mean, it's a pattern that's used over all music, though, right? And he hasn't been successfully able to win a lawsuit. Now, the kindness of some of these old
And
school
at this
DJs.
point, it's all over. At this point, you ain't gonna win that. It's over. It's
Well,
done.
that's what I'm saying. Like it's a similar way to what's going on with Mark Ronson. Now, he's gonna wait it out. You know, he only has to wait 21 years, and they were pretty much at the end of the 21 years uh, already. But like I said, if they would have waited another 2 years, it would have been a problem. But they paid to be cutting edge, and I think they're just gonna draw it out in court. You know, bureaucracy, so they'll diminish what they need to pay. Because I mean, you can't give 3 6 Mafia money every time somebody uses a continuous hi hat in the South, right?
True,
So I think they'll just wait it out. It'll be fine. Either way, they'll
but
be able to. They can pay them.
but a continuous hi hat in the South would be different than that drum break. I would say
And even more different than I guess like a whole phrase in the
exactly.
matter of like Zap or somebody.
So taking a I guess an idea of how to play something versus I'm just gonna play this.
Right.
But
Well, okay. Let,
on top
let's
of playing this, I'm gonna add a little yeah. But I'm playing this just
right.
like that's like um phrase like if you're singing something or whatever, it's like they clearly got that from somebody,
Right.
and you reference that person, but they might have sang it different and changed one word in it. But that's
Well,
clearly
see that's just blatant, and I don't think that's what he did. I think he took a general music style of a specific genre and then kind of reimagined it or whatever. Now you're gonna bump you're gonna bump some tables when you're dragging that out of the 80s. You know what I'm saying? In the 90s, you're gonna bump some tables, but in a whole, I mean, there's no way that you can't do that because all those songs, just like every other trend, trap music, going back to the Soldier Boy era, going back to that really gross 2003 New York era, it's all gonna sound the same, right? So it's just more of a contrast between 1993 and 2017 than it is, from 1993 to later 1993. Let me explain copyright law for our listeners at home. This will take 2 seconds, and maybe you guys can understand what the original idea was when they had this whole thing in mind. Because the whole thing for copyright law, the original thing was to foster creativity, but leave enough time for one person to have an idea where they can turn a profit. And the original time was only supposed to be 21 years. 21 years is enough time for you to patent something, work on it, improve on it, and then flip it for a profit. And then after that, everybody else, it becomes common property, and everybody else can then be allowed to put their iterations on and all that kind of stuff. Just imagine if we were in the kind of world where Star Wars could have been reimagined by, let's say, Peter Jackson or Stanley Kubrick or somebody else, or very specifically, what if Alexandro Jodorowsky could have reimagined Dune, But what they did was, because of greed and corporate interest and everything, they put it where copyright law now lasts the span of the creator's whole life, and then after that, the whole life plus 70 years, which means that there's no new ideas. So all these creative people who are now just limited to doing fan fiction on the internet, they can never improve on another idea because of these outrageous copyright laws. And it's absurd to think that it takes your whole life plus 70 years for you to make a profit on your work, with the exception of what? Pablo Picasso? Come on. So just for the sake of understanding of the audience out there, corporate interests and big business have destroyed what should have been, the creative process for a lot of people. But anyway, I thought it was just important to note that.
Word.
Yes, I agree.
Well, I want to make.
I mean, that's a good way to really explain it, because copyright law in particular it's often manipulated, and people, tend to think of it as like, okay, ownership. Well, this is mine, so you can't ever have it, and things like that. And so I think it's good that he explained it, because I forgot where I was going.
Copyright law is bad.
Let's go with that.
I mean, I tell you, I'm gonna go ahead and make this sharp turn. No, you know what? I'm not gonna make this sharp of a turn. I wanted to get you and Mr. Captain Nature Guy here.
Captain.
On this podcast to talk about one of my favorite human beings, man. We're gonna go ahead and make the sharp turn. There's no way to transition to it because I really want to talk about it.
Me?
Very excited.
Yeah, one of my favorite people, Umar Johnson. I just got to do it.
I'm hanging up.
Come on, man. Come on.
Shout out to my boy Umar Johnson.
Man. Man.
Umar will not get my blood pressure up tonight. He will not.
Hey, man.
Shout out to Umar Johnson. we about to get into it. That's what I'm talking about. See, we don't pull punches here at Window Seat Podcast. Blind and LPM are doing an excellent job. And now we're gonna talk in depth for our studio audience out there about Umar Johnson. Let's get it.
Man.
Ask the question. I'm ready.
Umar Johnson recently, me and LP were talking about this recently. He decided to take a sabbatical from his seminars, his public speaking engagements, because I guess he wants to take care of his physical and mental health. But I think some of that was brought on by people just asking important questions, bro. Like,
sure.
where are these certifications? What do you plan on doing? Why can't you give us clear, concise information? And one of the things he said, LP sent it to me, but I didn't get a chance to read it. But he said, what did he say? Like these coons are the one worried about it, not the white folks. What did he say?
Yeah, it was. He referenced Combs. I'm trying to find it if I can read this hot mess. But basically saying, y'all Combs calling the white man, asking him about my credentials and inundating him with phone calls and emails and things, and now he's concerned about, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
That ain't it, Umar. That's not it.
That to be fair, I think let me take you up down a very short trail for a second. A couple people at work have been accusing me of being a race trader recently. It's a very high charge just for a black person to be a race trader.
Yeah, very high, man.
But I think it is the general consensus to at least the layman, black citizen or whatever, as pertains to politics and all the kind of nuances of socio economy, I guess, to kind of have like a yellow dog approach to both politics and social camaraderie, I guess it is. And what I've gathered from that is that to be black is to have a unwavering loyalty for one's race, never contradicting in public your race, and never in public forum going against people of your own color. And to a certain extent, I see some value in that. I recently had somebody walk that backwards for me, from my own understanding, and it's starting to make sense. We're the only race that does that. No other race goes out of their way to bring down a person of their race. So I think Umar might have a valid point in that. I'll leave it there.
Oh, I thought you were gonna end it with a but and then transition.
But transition.
I mean, I don't think. I mean, you do have a point there, but I don't think trying to verify one's credentials.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, what depths these people are going to. I don't know if they're going to, like, man, instead of just calling in and trying to get information, they might be trying to stop his whole movement altogether by calling these people. I don't know.
Right.
I'm not in on
well,
the phone.
Well, let's call it like it is. What these people are doing is the equivalent of your baby mama getting upset with you and calling your job and telling your boss that you beating on her or you're a 9/11 sympathizer or something.
Man, like, hold on. So you doing that while you beating on her?
Well,
hey, that's a lot.
Look, I'm gonna let y'all have that one. But what I'm saying is, you can feel a certain way about anybody.
Hold on, okay. ALP.
Uh-huh.
Like, how would you feel about that as a woman? How would you feel about that? Being domestically abused and someone's, giving these unfavorable thoughts about 9/11 while they're domestically abusing you. Would you be conflicted?
Would I be conflicted? No.
That's pretty straightforward.
No, but I'm saying, like, you would have to be conflicted. Like, are you more concerned about these lashings or the words? Like, are these lashings the things that's fueling these words? Like, how do we get to some common ground here?
It was an inside job.
You need to stay off them late night Illuminati videos at 4:00 in the morning. Drinking coffee.
Steel, twisted metal.
Jet fuel can't melt metal beams. Like, I don't know, bro. I don't know. but I'm not about
I
that.
mean, I don't know, but I would assume that the person that's getting whooped on is probably not even thinking about the words that are coming out of that person.
Oh, okay. So what you're saying is when we're whipping our children, the words that we're saying doesn't make a difference. So we can just whip them in just pure discipline without giving them the reason why we're trying to rear them. We're not gonna do
Yeah,
that.
pretty much. That's exactly what I'm saying.
I don't agree with that. Anyway, continue.
That's okay. You don't have to agree, but I mean, if you're in a situation where you feel like you're in danger, which is technically what you are when you're being beat. Like, why? I don't have the capacity to shut down my defense mechanisms or the fact that I don't want to be hurt or whatever to think about and listen to what's coming out of your mouth.
So so what you're saying is you're probably just gonna agree with whatever the person's saying. Like, yeah, okay, yeah. Some people don't.
That or just not even like it's not even resonating. Like it's going in one ear and out the other.
So you talk to them before you whoop them and after you whoop them, not during the whooping.
Look now.
All I'm saying is somebody gonna get this
whooping.
And I'm just trying to figure out how to get this whooping, because somebody gonna get it.
Well, I would contest that Condoleezza Rice and Donald Rumsfeld with your point of view, Steve, and the whooping might in actuality make them listen better and maybe even help them adopt your point.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I just need to see when I need to talk to them, because they're gonna get this whooping.
So what I surmise from this is that Dr. Umar Johnson beats women and is a 9/11 conspiracy theorist.
Hey,
I mean that's a possibility. I'm gonna go ahead and go on record with saying that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the opinions expressed on this podcast do not necessarily. Golly.
Yeah, like I am. I mean, and I'll go ahead and be very transparent. I am not an Umar fan in the least. And I don't. It's hard for me to believe that. I guess the reason that he's going in front of the board or whatever, it has very little to do with these people contacting. The people who have concerns about his credentials probably have enough tact not to consistently and just call over and over and over, email over and over and over. This all stems from his inability to be honest, and the fact that he says a lot of dangerous shit.
Hey, when you fighting a white man trying to say your brother man from the Jew man, then you got to say dangerous stuff, bro.
For instance, LP, give me an example of like some of these dangerous things he's saying.
Well, let's see. Number one, he mixes up lies with truths and then sells it all as truth.
Sure. Well, I think before you continue, how about, for the sake of the studio audience, listeners at home, how about you walk it back and give us a overview of Umar Johnson and what he's done up to this point and why he's in this hot water in the first place. And by the way, we're talking about him being in front of a board to have his psychiatric certification revoked. But go ahead, just walk for the sake of me and the listening audience. Who is Umar Johnson?
Well, Daquan Johnson. No, I'm just
Uh-oh.
Oh shoot!
Your daddy named you Cassius Clay. Call you Cassius Clay.
He was heading out the whoopers and talking to him. I'm just saying, was he or was he not the champ? I'm gonna bring it back every chance I get. Continue.
Oh well, go ahead. I'm sorry, VP.
Okay, so since Blind actually introduced me to Umar, maybe he can shed some more light. But I'll tell you what I know from listening to him.
I have the memory of it, but I will try to help.
Okay, so apparently he is this. Would he be considered a pro-black nationalist or
Yeah. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, yes, he is considered a black nationalist.
Okay, so I kind of jumped on this Umar train around the time that it was brought to my attention that he was raising money for a school for little black boys. Um,
Right.
because of the state of public education and
But
blah
he was
blah
doing it.
blah.
Was that Was he doing the boys first, or was he doing the girls and the boys?
I think it was the boys first. Shout
Okay.
out to Port Gibson.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
And so he apparently had these, funding accounts or whatever where people could help fund this school so that our kids, our boys in particular, could be educated appropriately. Because they weren't getting what they wanted from the schools, which I understand. The problem with Umar is, again, his lack of transparency. Where's the money? How much money have you raised? What is the status of the school that you're trying to build?
Right.
There's always an issue with why he can't go forward, with the school and this, that, and the third. So that's one of the things that I know about him. Another thing that I know about him is that I lost my train of thought.
That he was on Hidden Colors. He was on Hidden Colors with David Banner and all the rest of these guys.
I've never seen that, so I can't really
What?
talk about
Oh,
it.
Tariq Nasheed.
I seen it
Yeah.
though.
Well, I'll say this about Umar Johnson. I talk about on my other mediums, which I'm sure I'll plug later. I often talk about the symptoms of megalomania because him as a psychiatric professional and me as a self-proclaimed Wikipedia professor and also WebMD aficionado. I think that we both have classic and telltale signs of megalomania. Let's give some historic examples of megalomaniacs. Napoleon Bonaparte, Richard II, Charles III, Adolf Hitler, Marcus Garvey, and of course Dr. Umar Johnson. Uh, Symptoms can sometimes include delusions of grandeur, over obsession with rank and heraldry and ancestry and lineage. And
Hey, you know what? Like that fits because man, he be riding Marcus Garvey's nuts hard, bruh.
sure, and the same thing was wrong with Marcus Garvey. See, now he had an opportunity to kind of deliberate or delineate those tasks to lieutenants. He wouldn't have been hit as hard or whatever, right? But since he was so obsessed with being the figurehead, which I'm convinced is an African innate trait that we as Black people have, but his desire to be a cult of personality, it led to his downfall. And because of the fact that Umar Johnson feels like he has to be the sole idea man, I guess, behind this whole effort, it's gotten him in a lot of trouble. Now, Blind, we talked earlier about some solutions that
Uh-huh.
Umar Johnson could do, right? Because everything about this whole situation is a double-edged sword, and it really comes down. It always comes back to Black peoples or so-called blacks, American Africans in diaspora. It always comes back to the point where we lack some of the social traits, uh, and of course that's because of our systematic loss of culture and our 400 years of slavery and all that kind of stuff, where we don't have an identity, right? So just like a black bank opening, by reputable, credible people, and you feeling, a little reluctant to put your money in a black bank, it works the same way. There's no other, there's no other charitable society that takes in what in reality is really a minuscule amount of money in the grand scheme of things, where the people involved are micromanaging the day-to-day operations of that money. Now, transparency could alleviate all this stuff, you know. But the fact is, any big effort has operational costs. Any big effort has overhead, you know. And I think maybe if he just would have you know, came straight up and was like, okay, well, this is how much it costs to do this. I can't practice psychiatry if I'm going all over the country, eliciting the help of these fundraisers and these donators and all that kind of stuff. These philanthropic efforts that he's doing. But he has to be straight up with the people about that. Now, does he have a degree? All that, it doesn't really matter. None of that really matters. You know what I'm saying? But the problem is that, one, he could have been a little more transparent, and two, black people, you gotta hold on a second and just take a step back and let the man. It's not your $700,000. You know, it's a culmination of all these people's money. I think like fundamentally, I think what he's doing is great. It starts with education. None of these other civic efforts, making some kind of Black Wall Street, and that stuff is always going to get destroyed or whatever. If you instill in the kids' minds when they're young to go ahead and have that, in addition to getting an education, have that sense of pride, sense of cultural identity, I think it'll create generational wealth. That's all I got to say about it. Go ahead. Hello? Everybody still alive?
Yeah, we're still here.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I talked.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with much of what you said. I think in general, I have an issue with Black people feeling like there has to be a leader of Black people, and
sure.
one of my biggest issues with Umar is the fact that he preaches as if, what he's saying is the gospel. And it is, he has a problem when he's questioned and asked to show evidence. And, the same things that, if you're going to be a leader, quote unquote, a leader, then you should be encouraging people to ask questions. You should be encouraging them to fact check. You should not be trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. And that's what makes me feel like he's a snake oil salesman. And is there a real desire to uplift the community? Or is there a desire to just be seen as the Mecca or, the leader of this time?
Right.
So I don't feel like he's genuine. I feel like this is all a ploy. And I guess we'll see when it shakes out.
If he ever comes back.
He's coming back.
Yeah, he still has all the money. And really and truly, he doesn't need to. He's set up in a way where, he might not be invited to any barbecues anymore, but he really didn't have to give any of that money back.
I'm sure he'll still be invited to the barbecues, unfortunately.
Say it again?
I'm sure he'll still be invited to the barbecues. We tend to invite every damn body.
To have a all Black boys boarding school, like a prestigious place where we can go and have have a sense of pride and have an exemplary education and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, a leader building machine like that. Oh man, it could do so much. It could do.
So why aren't the rest of these guys behind this guy?
That's a good question. And that goes back to what I was saying before, where I genuinely believe it's in our DNA. If you look at African tribes from antiquity, the chieftain or the leader of the tribe always ruled until the day he died, similar to the Supreme Court. Now, if you look at and I won't say Caucasian anymore. I'm gonna say it right here on this radio station that us as Black people we shouldn't use Caucasian or Caucasoid anymore because the delineation between black and white had to be made. So I believe that that's a ploy for Scandinavian people to kind of give themselves ancient ancestry and therefore uh, a built-in superiority to black people, which is also a title. But getting back to what I was saying, I believe it's in our DNA by our African rulers in antiquity to lead till they died, while everywhere else in the world, when a chieftain or a king or a lord or duke or earl got old, he would start to train his son up, and when he retired, where we get the concept of retirement from, he would pass the duties along to his firstborn male son or whatever. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole patriarchy and is it flawed and everything, but us as black people, that's a problem. So what you have, very frankly, is a bunch of chiefs and not enough Indians. You know what I'm saying? And nobody wants to give up control. You can see it everywhere. It goes all the way back from the Boule, the Prince Hall Freemasons, to Greek fraternities, and how that goes into civic, esoteric organizations, and from that, street gangs. You know, it's apparent everywhere, and it's our biggest problem. We can't step aside, people in. So that's why they don't because nobody wants to lay down and say that you're the leader. You know, I'll give an example of Prince Hall Freemasonry. Is this one of those kind of podcasts, Blind? Can I talk about Freemasonry on here?
Yeah, man, you talk whatever you want to, man.
Okay, well, you guys, everybody pretty much knows what Freemasonry is. If it's a secret society or whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're devil worship. None of that stuff matters. The point I'm trying to make right now is the fact that when uh, when the American Revolutionary War was going on, Prince Hall Freemasons were created, and they've had an unbroken line of association with the United Grand Lodge of England, and therefore they've had an unbroken association with the aristocracy of Europe. Right? They've shared mutual recognition in a way that an American citizen, a pilgrim running away from taxation and also the Church of England, who wanted to get away from the aristocracy of Europe, that they'll never have. And we've had an unbroken chain, like up until today, where of course the American Revolution had them sever that, right? But what happened is amongst ourselves, we were so dissatisfied with not being awarded leadership and all that kind of stuff. We spent off into all these little splinter groups, where it's so bad that when I moved to Houston, Texas, there's 30 independent of each other Prince Hall well, not Prince Hall, but just Black Freemason organization. Now, as far as numbers go, because of how exclusionary the white counterparts are, their numbers are dying out exponentially, while ours are growing because we always pulled from a younger pool, starting from 18, where a lot of times they would start from 21, and then not even from college campuses, right? So we have an advantage. We have behind the door meeting opportunities, which we used back in the day, uh, in the post Civil War times. The Methodist Church and the Prince Hall Freemasons Lodge were the place where we went and organized with ourselves, and that goes all the way up into the Civil Rights Movement, where Martin Luther King and Thurgood Marshall, they would come to the Freemasons Lodge of East City, right? But I said all that to say that a comparison can be made to blacks in society, how much influence we actually have on the, I hate to use this word, but the zeitgeist of culture, you know. And if we if we could come together under one banner, I think we will be too powerful. You know what I'm saying? And we would be able to exercise any will that we wanted to.
So
But
what you're
our
saying
problem is,
is we
yeah.
need David Banner and not Umar Johnson
Well, what I think we need
because you said the
is
word banner. That's on. Yeah, I just yeah.
we need a oligarchy. We need a council of black leaders, but not too big because what you don't want to be is immobile. Here's another example: the NAACP, often sought out as a beacon of hope in the black community, an example of how we can change our own destiny or whatever, right? But in actuality, um, it's so top heavy that it can't do anything. There's so many leaders that need to be present for any one thing to be voted on. It can't do anything. So what it does is it takes these newly empowered, newly quote woke college students as student dues, and it just shares it amongst this its higher members. And people talk about the Illuminati. There's an example of the Illuminati right there. So I think if we could get a small council of representative democracy amongst our own community, much like the Jews, much like the Chinese, that would be our answer.
Well, hey, that's more answer than what I have. But I don't know, man. I say we wrap this thing up, man. We kind of went all over the place as usual. You know.
So what did we decide on Umar? Is he still trash?
Trash.
Oh, that's a tough one, man. He could still do it if all it would really take is for him to like come clean. Okay, I we know that he's at least to the point of his dissertation. We know the fact he's done all the coursework to become a doctorate in psychology, but was his dissertation approved? So that's not even the big deal. They just like you said, LP. They just want they want transparency. So if he comes clean right now, um, agrees to let the donors vote on a council of leaders for this whole effort, I think it would take some of the pressure off of him, and it would also take some of the accountability off of him. And then as a result, we could be more mobile because tasks could be assigned to different people, and you could get a lot of different things done at the same time. That's why a big legal team always beats a public defender because they have somebody, they have all these little paralegals who file this paperwork here, file this paperwork. That's how they win. Got more people on point. It's man to man defense. You're playing zones. Is that right, Steve? Zones?
Hey, man, zone.
Yeah, I don't know anything about basketball.
Just like the ozone zone. Just like when you're selling drugs, zone.
Say blind,
Anyway,
blind.
hey man,
I
hi.
just gave you a voice clip just in case you need to use it.
Okay,
Blind,
so
blind.
this will, if he can delegate the task and all that good stuff.
Uh-huh.
So you know what? Let me just go ahead and say this.
Okay.
He gonna be trash to me forever.
Okay. Yeah.
I definitely see what you're saying, and I get what you're saying. And if he does delegate these tasks and have certain people doing certain things, like all that would be fine dandy, and that would, I think, help him in not looking like he's just trying to be the king of all kings, which is what it seems like at this point.
Right.
I mean, like it was said earlier, if what you're doing is really what you're doing, then you would have people supporting you, the people who have the same ideologies as you and things like that, and you don't.
Well,
That's a little bit
don't
concerning.
we are black, though.
What does that mean?
He's the only one who's actually getting the point. Because what'll happen is you'll have Hebrew Israelites and Kemetic guys and Moorish Temple of Science guys. They'll get you to a certain point, but they're themed around theology. They want to make it into a religious group. We need something purely civic, which isn't a you pat my back nepotism type organization like a Greek fraternity or a Boule or in some modern, I mean, some not so modern cases, maybe like Freemasonry or whatever. I'm going to tell you that's not the case anymore. But a certain amount of nepotism happen in all those kind of things. So even though they may have certain ties on instead of like dashikis and these weird costumes on, they're still not getting the point. I think Umar Johnson has the point. I think he mixed perfectly the ideas of Pan Africanism and this whole black nationalism thing. That let me give you an example. If we could all, I don't want to participate anymore. If we can all be like Farrakhan and his Nation of Islam, but not have it around based around religion, that's it. So what you do just to appease and acknowledge all these different bogus organizations, in my opinion, you could have Farrakhan on the board of elders or council of a few, however you're gonna call it, because it has to be something grand and illustrious because megalomaniacs love that. So you get Farrakhan on there, you get Umar Johnson on that. As a gesture, I think Umar Johnson would step down from that council and let somebody else up there. Baba Haru from the Comets, and then Captain Tazariak and all those guys from the Hebrew Israelites. Get all those guys on a council. Tell them to wear a nice suit or whatever, and we can take everybody's point of view into consideration from a civic level. Because we get too endowed in this religious stuff, which is different. Not saying I'm not religious, because I am, but it's distracting from the plight of the black person in America, whatever. We need a civic entity, and I don't believe that the Congressional Black Caucus is doing it, or at least they're too exclusive, which is the problem with representative democracy. There's no way for us to participate on a street level. You know what I'm saying? So those are just my opinions. This seems like it'll be a great part two. Uh, Blind.
But I think when you talk about exclusivity and the fact that at the street level they're not at the table, put it like that.
Yeah.
But you still have to think about looking at Umar in particular, but also the Nation of Islam and things like that. So there's still going to be some people that are not at the table.
Right.
So it still wouldn't be representative of our whole blackness, I guess you want to call it.
Right. Well, some people don't want to participate. Some people are happy with getting rich and then moving to a nice suburban multicultural neighborhood, like Gene Roddenberry's idea of what the world should be with Star Trek. My problem with that is I think segregation. I think that I think that was the worst thing that ever happened to us. But yeah, I mean, everybody's not going to want to participate. So,
but even some of those that do want to participate are not going to be welcomed at the table. Specifically, let's talk about homosexual. Are they going to be welcomed at the table? I highly doubt it.
Well, see, that's when we really have to be honest with ourselves and differentiating a civic organization from a religious organ. And that's one of the problems, and that's one of the reasons why that needs to be differentiated. Because in theory, a civic organization would invite homosexuals into the fold, but that's not necessarily true. Because, for instance, Flatbush, New York, right? There's a high concentration of Orthodox Jews, right? They police their own community. They have their own commerce and all that kind of stuff within their own community. They circulate money and all that. And they don't accept homosexuals. Same with the Chinese, Same with the Mennonites or the Amish as other people. Same as the Mormons. Do you want me to get into this LPM?
I mean, I
Because I
would
can't.
say
I mean,
I would say
go ahead.
yes, but I also know that I have to go to work in the morning. So
Okay, because like it's a. I mean, there's a thing that people are doing to us, to distract us, and maybe to a lesser degree, preventing us from reproducing. I think there are some people who are systematically trying to neuter us by making us feel as though it was necessary for us to emasculate ourselves in front of them in fear of getting prosecuted by the police and even shot. I think that they take leaders from amongst us to quell what would otherwise be violent reactions to unconstitutional things. And we have to keep in consideration what the Constitution is and why those loopholes were put there, just in case the government ever got tyrannical, right? And I also think that a certain amount of let's say irreligious libertine uh, um, propaganda, or I guess predictive programming, is put into our everyday life uh, to make us a certain way that we don't reproduce. To put it in layman's term, I think that that there's a group of people whose job is to keep us in fear of being ourselves, proud, big chested, aggressive. I think there's a group of people who are trying to make us preoccupied with the wrong kind of things, like money and hoes. And I think there's a certain amount of um, libertarian media that's allowed that wasn't allowed, 50 years ago, allowed now to make us in a certain way where we wouldn't want to reproduce. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. Oh, um, I do want to talk more about this. I agree with some of what you're saying,
Uh-huh.
but I disagree with some core beliefs there. And I understand that they're yours and mine are mine.
Oh well, I mean, you can't leave us on no cliffhanger, VP.
But I have to though. I have to. Um, but yeah, we can put a pin. We don't have to put a pin in this.
Well,
Okay.
I guess the next podcast is going to be finishing this discussion then.
Excellent.
I mean, I'm down there. You know what I'm saying? Cool.
All right. So this has been another episode of the Window Seat Podcast. We don't know where you can find us right now. We are, I guess we're still on Facebook, right?
Yes.
Okay. Probably still on Twitter. Don't be, too concerned about the fact that the last tweet or Facebook post was 3 years ago. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, it's not
Just go ahead and, like or like the page, whatever, so that you can be notified when we do put out new episodes. Right?
True.
All right. So thank you again to Nature Boy for providing his thoughts and experiences and just giving this podcast a new breath, a breath of fresh air. So we appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you guys for having me, LP. And I'm blind. It's a pleasure as always. I've known both of you guys for quite a many years, and I'm very happy that you guys allowed me to come and express maybe some controversial views. But I know in future episodes we'll be able to lay those out and get a real understanding. So I look forward to doing this again with you guys, and I'm gonna give it to the blind man.
Man, don't give it to the blind man. He probably gonna drop it. Yeah.
Jesus.
So on that note, we out.
Peace.